couldn't see it because it was off frame, but we had to use the bumper on the Bronco to slow us down a little bit coming in the driveway. Worked out okay. Steel bumper on this stuff, so nothing's hurt, but not the smoothest driveway park, but did all right. Was able to get it into reverse and ease her back. But now's the fun part. Now we can start going through, digging through these lines. So there's a couple things I need to do. I need to get the brake lines done. I want to drop all the fluids in this thing because I haven't changed them since I bought it. It hasn't driven very far. I drove from Keystone. I bought it in Stark, Florida. I drove it from Stark to Keystone Heights, which is about 10 miles maybe, and then from there back here to work on it. That was the longest jaunt. I made sure everything was topped off, but I didn't change anything, and cannonballed it back here. That's probably 30, 40 miles. So I've only probably got topped 50 miles under the belt of this thing, but I know everything needs to be flushed and changed. I did drain and flush the coolant on it but it's just straight water. But we need to drop the oil. I want to drop the oil in the transmission as well. We're going to drain the radiator, clean it out, flush it out good, and at least check the rear end. If not, change it too. I don't know if that Dana 70 has a drain plug or not, so we're going to find out. Want all the fluids tip top. We're going to pull the plugs, probably just clean them and throw them back in, but give it a good once over. All the spark plug wires look okay. All the rubber hoses are shot. We got a bunch of parts we got to throw at this. Luckily, I got a couple of O'Reilly's reward points to cash in. I also have some for advance, so we're going to hopefully get some free parts, and free parts that cost me money. So that's the plan. I'm going to get into some more workable clothes, and we'll start tearing into this thing and crawling underneath. Look at all that oil on the driveway. Alright, so here's the gizmos and gadgets I bought, mostly off Amazon for this project. I got some little, basically threaded coupling barrels to go between fittings so I can connect the old line end to the new line end, hopefully with one of these. And I got a couple different size fittings, because I'd need to figure out exactly what size I'm going to need for under the truck. I got a ton of replacement brake lines. Should be enough to replace, if I need to, the whole run from the front to the back. And then a fancy flaring tool, which I did not have and have never used before, so that'll be a learning experience that you'll get to see right along with me. We're going to climb underneath here, and I'll show you what we're looking at. So here's transmission. Oil drain pan. You can see actually both look pretty decent. There's a little seepage, but nothing's dripping. We got this crazy big honkin' flange on the back of the transmission going to our U-joint. Two-piece drive shaft running down, because this bad boy is long. Go into that rear axle. You can see it's fairly rusty on the this box they've got on the back, that flatbed. But the frame itself is in pretty decent shape, actually. Everything's really in decent-ish shape. I'm sure the rubber brake lines are probably also going to have some issues, so we may have to look at those. We've got some cut lines here, but this is for the old fuel system that's no longer in play, so there was an inline fuel filter there. That's done. That's going to need some attention. That looks disgusting, so we'll clean that up, re-grease that. But here's our issue. If you were to, I'll undo this in a minute so you can see it, but it was leaking. It was spraying out from here. So what I did was it was leaking from here too, so I just took a hammer and thwacked this thing against the frame just to flatten it in some spots to stop the flow of the brake fluid. But this was all eaten and rotted. The
weird thing is a lot of the line actually doesn't look that bad. It's odd that some of it is bad and some of it's not. You'd think it'd be kind of the same story all the way around. It's pretty rough right there too. You can see that's just waiting to blow out. And it looks almost as bad, but not quite as baddish, moving up farther. So what I think we might do for now, until it blows again, since there's already one of those barrel connectors right here, is try and hold on to this, pull this side out, and replace from here all the way down to wherever the connection's going to be that drops it down to the axle, which, let's take a look at that. Oh my, it runs and bends. That'll be interesting. Here, and runs into this rubber line. So we'll have to try and back that out. That looks like it's going to be a nightmare. But we'll see. I love this mad scientist mess he's got going on here. Not the cleanest of welds, and he's just gas torched off the pipe, but hey, I mean, I guess it's strong, sort of. Especially like that for a spacer between the flatbed and the frame, he just used, pressure treated 1x. That's, for extra suspension and cushion. You see on the leaf springs, you got 2 packs. You got your main set here, and then you get some helper springs up above to stiffen it up for those heavy loads. It's wild under here. So we got to get from here all the way down. It's a pretty straight shot, not a whole lot of bends, honestly, all the way down to that connector down there. 2 different flavors of channel locks and a adjustable wrench to get on that barrel fitting, and copious amounts of WD-40, which we're going to go ahead and spray and lube and juice that thing up on both sides really good and let it sit for a few minutes, and piddle around with some other stuff while we're letting that eat a little bit. Whee! This side looks a little better, so hopefully this will break loose. This has obviously been professionally redone at some point. And they used the blue, which, I probably would have used the orange to match, but it's there at least. It's interesting the way they have these shackles set up so that you could, I guess, adjust the angle that your shock is, maybe for more or less travel. It's kind of odd, but crazy. My fancy wiring job I did for the brake lights, I had to splice in here, come out for new brake light wires, and I ran a trailer hitch as well, hitch lights for these fancy guys. Put that up there. Purdy. I'm actually feeling really good about this. Firing up instantly, that was nice, but I know that it needs some love and some cleaning out under here. This filter is probably barely a filter anymore, so that's one thing I want to address. I don't think that was filtering a whole lot. Beautiful. Which means all of that crud's been sucked down inside, so it's been eating well. This is the original carb. I was right. So it says Holly on the outside of the case, but there's a sticker or a metal tag here, which I'll bring you in on in a minute. It says Motorcraft Series BEA Type 9BB Date X. No idea what any of those date codes mean. I have to look it up, but with a Motorcraft stamp on it, it's definitely original.
It's definitely gunky and nasty. We're gonna spray some carb cleaner in here, clean it out, spray the jets good, see if we can kind of, you know, give it a little bit of help. Then I'm gonna put a bag or something over that. We'll take the shop vac. We're gonna clean this thing out. Just do a little bit while we're waiting on that WD-40 to soak in. Definitely need a new belt. I'm going to pull that off. We're going to pull the hoses off. We'll take those to O'Reilly, see if we can find replacements. Hopefully we can. Maybe I did change the oil because that's a newer filter on it. Of course it's a Fram, but at the time I don't think I was overly concerned with the brand so much as having something in it. Yeah, oil actually looks pretty good. So I'm thinking I've already did that. Give it the sniff test. Yeah, I mean, look at that. That looks brand new. It's still clear and see-through. Oh yeah, like honey. Smells a little bit like fuel, but honestly, it's in pretty good shape. We're going to shoot them with the WD-40, so when I go to tighten them, at least I can give myself the false illusion that they might not snap instantly. Which they will. And that's the fun with these old ones. It's like Russian roulette. Rusty bolt style. I wonder how many cans of WD-40 this truck has seen on its life. I'm thinking a lot.
Let me get you in here on this. Take a look at that emergency brake cable. Looks like it's gonna blow. Weird thing is it's not fluid filled. I mean, that's just a steel cable from what I understand that pulls. There's no hydraulics to it. It's weird that it's so swollen up, but where we're going, we don't need an emergency brake anyway. We don't need roads. We just leave it in gear. All right. Bloop. Let's clean her up. But it's better now. I got rid of most of the acorns and whatnots. I'm gonna spray it down and then give it a little paint job. Clean up some of these original decals and clean her up real nice. I was gonna pressure wash it, but I'm thinking I might not. I don't want to blast too hard and get rid of too much. So I might just spray it with the hose, nice and easy. Put a bag over the carburetor. But pretty cool. Somebody's painted over some of these decals at one point. We blacked this thing already. Can't quite make them out. Talks about the cooling system on that one. Not sure what that one would have been. This truck's seen a lot of spray paint. A lot of paint cans. I'm sure a lot of WD-40 cans. It's a cool little rig. But got a little bit cleaned up there. Let's get underneath and see if we can't knock some of these bolts loose. That's about as good a shot as any as I can get you. We're going to use our SAE line wrench. Hey, that got it. We're gonna leave it just shut so that way it doesn't leak horribly everywhere. But that's loose. I'll probably actually just cut that line and make it easier to pull that out. I'll untuck it from all these clips. Cool. That wasn't so bad of a chore. We'll go to the back and do the same thing. Alright, what I'm going to try and do is kind of the same thing as the other side. Use this one to turn it. get in here and grab the other side. Ah. Oh, that sounded positive. Maybe. Yeah. It's going. It's twisting the whole line with it, but that's okay. We don't need the line anyhow. And it's out. Only drag is we broke this really, really old, crusty, falling apart retainer that holds this line in place. So I'll have to find some kind of a new thing to make a cotter for that. Can you see anything? Probably not. Alright, so line's right here. Well, I was able to plug the brake line pretty nifty. I took a foam earplug and that expanded enough to seal it off. Now we're just fishing this old line out. Just kind of bending it around stuff. I'm not going to take it apart because I want to measure and make sure the new one is the right length to go back in. Alright, and it's out of there. So you guys, some of you probably do, some of you may not appreciate how much more work and how much more difficult it is to try and record things and do them at the same time. I feel like I could be making a lot quicker work of this if I wasn't trying to capture it. But it's fun, not just for me, but hopefully for you guys a little bit too. I like to look back on to see kind of the different things I've done. But if it helps somebody or gives somebody some entertainment for some beer drinking, or just if you're bored and want to learn about old beat up U-Haul trucks, it's neat to be able to reflect back on. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the brake line that came out, this nice long crusty rusty piece. We're going to measure up a new piece and try and flare and put together the new one. So we'll see how that goes. So this is our old one. It's a pretty lengthy piece. So we're going to replace the whole deal. This is a nice straight piece here. This will be easy to mimic. Just got to flare and run a length. And it's honestly pretty straight the whole way. It's got a couple bends where it goes around the cross members some. But I think I'll probably even just cut a straight piece and make that work. The hard part is going to be this here. It does almost a complete circle here. It's like a half circle. It does a 180 bend. That's gonna be tricky because I need it to bend like that without kinking, and that'll be the trick. So I've never done this before, so there's going to be a learning curve. Nice thing too I'm noticing is, see how this came from the factory coiled in the middle? That coil mimics almost what I need to do. So I think I'm going to leave that and just straighten it out from here. And then I'll have my bend already made. And this is not kinked. So I can do that, just flare this end with my fitting on it. And I think kind of already have the shape I want. And just run it out, which will be nice. So this next part here, I'm probably going to break out into like a little Cliff Notes video. But we're going to go over how to flare the brake line. And since I've not done it before either, it'll be a learning experience for all. What I'm going to do is cut a very small piece of this so that we can practice with it. So I'm practicing cutting the line here. I'm going to practice flaring the line. I'll show you how to do that. And then once we feel confident in it, then we'll move on to the real deal. Since that's going to be such a long piece of line, I really don't want to screw it up. And we're going to cut it longer than we need it to be. I can always lose some excess by adding some small bends to it. You can't put it back once you cut it. So we're going to make it longer rather than shorter. All right, let's fix this crazy long thing into this truck. I think we're going to work our way from the back to the front. All right, we got her on there. Let me show you. So there's our flared fitting installed there. We had longer than we needed, which is okay. I just brought it out a little bit more, looped it, returned it down the frame rail all the way down, and connected it to the other end with that barrel fitting. So that worked out well. Hopefully it'll be leak-free. You gotta bleed it to see this and see where else fluid starts squirting out of. Chances are 88.3%. Fine invention I've created here is a slightly different version than my normal, what I call my one-man bleeder. A little trick I've learned if you're trying to bleed brakes by yourself. In this case, I think Kayla is going to help, which will be big. But this still makes it much easier. I usually take a water bottle and drill a hole in the cap so you have tension to keep your hose in it. But I just masking taped this in. It's a piece of fuel line down in here, or you can use vacuum hose, whatever fits over the nipples on your brakes. You put some fluid in this, get the hose submerged in it. So when you hook that up to the nipple and hit the brakes, it forces the air in, the bubbles come up, but it doesn't, when you let off the pedal, allow the air to suck back up into the line. That allows you to bleed the brakes. One man, you can hook that up if you can zip tie that onto the nipple on the brakes, on the bleeder, and just crack it. And I actually will take grease a lot of times, or RTV or something, and stick it on the threads of the nipple just to keep it from seeping out air right at the fitting. Crack that loose, hook this up to it. You can go inside and pump away. Make sure there's fluid in your master cylinder, and you just keep pumping until this comes out either clear or bubble free, or as close to that as you want to get. So we're going to give this a run and see what we can get out. All right, so I got all 4 brake bleeders pre-cracked open. A little tip, if you want to maximize the time that your partner will help, you should crack those open beforehand so you're not wasting their time doing that. Then you can maximize the time they spend bleeding your brakes fluid. So we're going to hop down underneath here. Amazingly, I got 4 out of 4 of those bleeders cracked open, which is 4 more than I thought I would. I had one that gave me a really hard time up front that I thought was just going to break off, but we got lucky and none did.
All right, going down?
Yeah.
Pull.
Oh, that was a good one.
Pull that out.
Yeah. Now we're cooking with gas. Hold on a second. Down. Hold it right there. You do it a little faster. Yeah, you do it a little faster now. Yeah. Calling that one good.
to the front.
I just want to give you guys a better viewpoint for one brake here. You're going to put your wrench on. You're going to run your hose and pop it on there. That's running down into your bottle here. Oop, the hose came off, so we're going to hold that. Oh, that's because it's looped around. Again, with the camera, way harder. All right, now we're in the bottle. We're on there. We're going to crack it loose. Okay. All right, go ahead.
So, recording hours of video does a toll on a battery on a cell phone. So it died in the middle of bleeding the brakes, but we got the brakes, we got the brakes all bled. Went ahead and bled them all the way around. Some of the actual little bleeder nipples must have had, who knows, cobwebs, mud daubers, something in them. They were stopped up. So on a couple, I actually had to take them out completely, clean them, and put them back in. But I got everything bled. The brakes are working. They're not perfect, but the more I've been using them, the better they're getting. I'll probably have to drive it around, get a good couple brake pumps into it, and then re-bleed it again. I'm sure there's still some air in the system, maybe even some from the master cylinder because it was almost bone dry. So we're gonna keep doing with that, but it is working. We are leak free in our connections we did.